The air was thick with the smell of stale rain and fear.
Marcus navigated the labyrinthine alleyway, his footsteps echoing off the grimy brick walls.
A lone streetlight flickered, casting elongated shadows that danced menacingly around him.
He pulled his trench coat tighter, seeking a meager comfort against the encroaching chill.
This city, he thought, was a beast that never slept.
He stopped at the mouth of the alley, his senses on high alert. The incessant drone of traffic from the distant main street was a dull roar. He could hear the rhythmic drip of water from a leaking pipe, each drop a metronome marking passing time.
His fingers instinctively brushed against the cold steel of his revolver, a familiar weight against his hip.
He pulled out his burner phone, the screen's pale light a beacon in the darkness.
You got it?
The voice on the other end was a low growl, distorted and untraceable.
"I'm here," he replied, his voice a gravelly murmur. "Where's the package?"
The voice gave him an address, an abandoned warehouse district on the edge of the city.
You'll find it there, the voice hissed. And Marcus, no cops. You try anything funny and the deal's off.
The line went dead, leaving Marcus with a hollow ring in his ears.
He hailed a cab at the edge of the alley, his face lost in the shadows.
The driver, a man with eyes that had seen too much, didn't ask questions. Marcus gave him the address, settling back into the worn leather seat. The city lights blurred past the window. The cab screeched to a halt outside a building that looked like a skeletal giant.
Marcus paid the driver, the crumpled bills disappearing into the man's calloused hand.
As the cab pulled away, Marcus was left alone in the suffocating silence. He entered the warehouse, his hand hovering near his revolver. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. Moonlight filtered through the grimy skylights, illuminating the vast emptiness within. He could hear the skittering of rats in the shadows, a symphony of tiny claws on concrete. The place felt abandoned, a tomb of forgotten industry.
You're late, a voice said, smooth and feminine, cutting through the silence.
A woman emerged from the shadows, her silhouette framed against the moonlight. She was tall and athletic, her face partially obscured by the darkness. She held a small flash drive between two fingers, its metallic glint a beacon in the dimness.
"Leah," Marcus acknowledged, his voice guarded.
She moved closer, stepping into a pool of moonlight. Her face was etched with worry, her eyes reflecting the same anxieties that gnawed at him.
This is bigger than you know, Marcus, she said, her voice barely a whisper. They're watching you. They know you're here.
Her words sent a chill down his spine. He'd been careful, meticulous. Had he missed something?
"Who's watching?" he demanded, his hand tightening around the butt of his revolver.
Leah shook her head, her eyes darting towards the warehouse entrance.
They call themselves the agency. They're ruthless, efficient, and they want this drive.
A sudden noise from the entrance made them both freeze. Two figures emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured by ski masks. They moved with practiced ease, their movements betraying years of training. One held a silenced pistol, the other a compact submachine gun. Their eyes scanned the warehouse, cold and calculating.
"Don't move!" one of the figures barked, his voice amplified by the cavernous space.
Marcus and Leah exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them. They were trapped, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. Marcus knew he had to act fast. He had to create a diversion, buy them some time. He lunged to the side just as the first shot rang out. The warehouse erupted in a cacophony of gunfire, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder. He returned fire, his shots echoing through the vast emptiness. Leah, her initial shock giving way to a cold fury, grabbed a loose pipe from the floor and charged at the assailant closest to her. Marcus, using the cover of darkness and the warehouse's labyrinthine layout, managed to take down one of the attackers. The other, realizing he was outmatched, retreated into the shadows, disappearing into the night. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by their ragged breathing and the ringing in Marcus's ears. He ran to Leah's side, relief washing over him when he saw she was unharmed.
"We have to go," he said, his voice urgent.
She nodded, her face pale but resolute. He grabbed the flash drive from her hand, its cold metal a reminder of the danger they were in. They fled the warehouse, the echo of their pursuers' threats ringing in their ears. He led Leah through a maze of back alleys and deserted streets, the city's nocturnal rhythm a chaotic symphony around them. He knew they weren't safe, not yet. The agency had eyes everywhere, but he had something they wanted, something that could expose their secrets. He ducked into a late-night diner, its neon sign a beacon in the darkness. He found a payphone, its grimy receiver a lifeline. He dialed a number he knew by heart.
"It's me," he said. "I have the drive. Tell your contact to check their mailbox."
He hung up the phone, the dial tone a death knell to his anonymity. He slipped out of the diner, melting back into the city's underbelly. He didn't look back, didn't dare to. He could hear the distant wail of sirens, their approach a grim reminder of the chaos he left in his wake. He was a ghost, a whisper in the wind, and the truth, he knew, was his only salvation.